Let the Children March by Monica Clark Robinson, illustrated by Frank Morrison. 1963, Birmingham, Alabama. I couldn't play on the same playground as the white kids. I couldn't go to their schools. I couldn't drink from their water fountains. There were so many things I couldn't do. One warm spring night, my family went to church. We weren't there to have regular services. We were there to hear Dr. King speak. We were there to plan. He wanted to raise an army of peaceful protesters to fight for freedom, his brown eyes flashing fire and love. Dr. King told us the time had come to march. If I march, Mama said, I'll lose my job. Sure enough. I can't march, Daddy said. I got a family to feed. The weight of the world rested on our parents' shoulders. But this burden, this time, did not have to be theirs to bear. I don't have a boss to fear, my brother said, or a job to lose. We can march this time. We'll be Dr. King's army, I said. I'll be fine, Daddy, I promised. Don't worry, Mama. Dr. King didn't like children being put in harm's way. He was a daddy too, after all. But he said that though we were young, we were not too young to want our freedom. Let the children march. They will lead the way. On May 2nd, a sunny Thursday, boys and girls, brothers and sisters, cousins and friends, we all met at the church dressed in our best, feet ready. In a silence so loud that all I could hear was my racing heart, we began to walk. Hand in hand, we marched, so frightened, yet certain of what was right for freedom. The path may be long and troubled, but I'm gonna walk on. Would I be hurt? Would we be heard? Would it all be worth it in the end? I wanted to run from the angry faces in the crowd, run from the danger, run from fear. Boys and girls, brothers and sisters, cousins and friends, on and on we marched. We marched. We marched. Singing the songs of freedom. 1,000 strong, we came. Hate dogged my heels all that day, its yellowed canine teeth sharp, but courage walked by my side and kept me going. Disperse or you'll be jailed, the police shouted the first day. Disperse or you'll get wet, the police shouted the second day. Disperse or we'll release the dogs, the police shouted the third day. We did not disperse. We kept on marching. We wouldn't stop until things started to change. Hundreds of us went to jail on the first day, and even more on the second. My turn wasn't until the third day. After I was sprayed by water stronger than anything I've ever felt, rough hands pushed me forward, and I fell to my knees in the police wagon. I was going to jail. Dr. King reassured our parents. Don't worry about your children, he said. They're going to be all right. Don't hold them back if they want to go to jail, for they are doing a job for not only themselves, but for all of America and for all of mankind. That night, crowded into a cell too small for even half of the kids, we sang, "We shall overcome, ain't gonna let nobody turn me round, and freedom is coming." Our parents couldn't be there with us, but we still sang, wrapped in the proud and loving arms of our ancestors. I was still in jail, but we heard that the next day, and the next, more kids marched. The water hoses they used to sting us could not stop our fierce tide. The path may be long and troubled, but I'm gonna walk on. Turn the other cheek, we had been taught. Show love where there is hate. The world watched as hate bruised us. But for 7 days, we walked only in love. The jails swelled to bursting, and even President Kennedy took notice. Daddy said the president received letters and calls about us from all over the world. Our march would become a memory, a small part of a larger story, but we had been heard, and the seeds of revolution were sown. 2 days and nights, I stayed in the jail. Some stayed even longer. When I left, I was tired and sore, and my best dress was ripped, but my smile was as wide as the Mississippi River. I had made a difference. "I'm so proud of you, baby girl," Mama said. "Your march was what made them see." With nothing more than our feet, voices, and courage, we had done what others could not. Change was right around the corner. We felt it like a cool breeze in an Alabama August. On May 10th, the great news rang out. Dr. King had reached an agreement with the white leaders of the city. Desegregation would begin. 1 month later, I was playing on a playground I'd never been allowed to play on before. 2 months later, my family ate at a diner we'd never been allowed to eat in before. Our march made the difference. We children led the way. Singing the songs of freedom, 1,000 strong, we came. Now that we've read the story, let's take a look at some of the history behind the Children's Crusade. Birmingham, Alabama was really important to the civil rights movement in the 1960s. The purpose of the civil rights movement was to gain rights for the African American community who were being greatly discriminated against through segregation. The momentum in Birmingham began to slow down around the time that Martin Luther King Jr. was arrested. His time spent in jail was when he wrote his famous Letter from Birmingham Jail. Martin Luther King Jr., trying to reignite the fire of the movement in Birmingham, made a plea to the people. Many of the adults expressed their concerns. They had jobs and families, and they were scared of losing their jobs or going to jail for protesting. MLK asked the children of Birmingham to march instead and told the parents that the children would be okay and to let them go to jail if they want to. From May 2nd to May 9th, 1963, the black children of Birmingham took to the streets. By the end of the week-long crusade, over 2,000 young people had been arrested. The demonstration was meant to be peaceful, but on the streets, children were met with high-pressure fire hoses, dogs, and armed police officers. By the end of the protests, adults had joined too. Now let's hear from some of the people that were there.
The Children's Crusade in 1963 was the use of school-aged children primarily to participate in nonviolent demonstrations in downtown Birmingham. We were told in some of the mass meetings that a day would come when we could really do something about all of these inequities that we were experiencing, and we were calling it D-Day. That was May 2nd, 1963.
On a Monday morning, a young lady came out to visit our school to recruit people to come downtown. And she said, "I'm hoping you can motivate our kids to come and go to jail."
First we were faced with the dogs and the water hose.
Kids are sprayed with fire hoses. They kick out 100 pounds of pressure that tore clothes, that tore flesh.
The police officer stopped us and speaking through a megaphone said, "Get out of this line or you're going to jail." I was so intimidated by facing a white man. I'd never had that encounter.
When the adults felt like they couldn't do anything, the kids stepped up. Now let's talk about it. Pause the video now for discussion questions and talk to the people around you.